All right, we'll get started, everyone. Thank you again for joining. So tonight we're going to go over mock admissions, kind of a glimpse into what admissions looks like from the university's perspective. So tonight we have two futurology counselors on the team presenting. So myself and my colleague, Mrs. Espejo, and we'll introduce ourselves in just a moment. So again, thank you all for joining. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the Q&A and we will address them as the presentation goes on.
Thank you so much for joining us. And if you're just joining us now, you could scan the QR code on the slide, or you can go into the chat and you can access the link to the pre-survey that way.
All righty, so let's get started. So welcome to Mock Admissions, a glimpse into the college admissions process. So just a few housekeeping items. So if you see this icon right here, this little chain link, we have some resources available. So when we send this material via email in the next couple of days, along with the recording of this presentation, you can access any of these resources in the future, as well as you can chat in the Q&A. We will address hopefully the questions in the presentation, but again, we will address them at the end if we haven't. And then also you can chat with us because there's going to be some interactive components. If you have a general question, the Q&A might be a great spot, but we're excited you all are here today. And then again, everything we do for Futurology is recorded and posted on our YouTube channel. So currently we have hundreds of videos ranging from admissions information, college searching, financial aid, lots of resources that all grade levels can take advantage of. So again, it's on our YouTube channel, and this will be posted within the next day or so as well. Alrighty, so on the screen, you can see some of our team members for Futurology. We have a fabulous team that works at every single high school in the district. So we are a set of credentialed school counselors that help students achieve their dreams, whether it be college or career-related activities. We are all experienced admissions readers. So we've either worked for UCs, such as UCI, UC Davis, as well as private universities in the admissions departments, reviewing and reading applications and helping either accept or deny students over the past handful of years. So we have that experience from working with students on campuses, as well as seeing what the applications that have been submitted and are being accepted. We also are very data-driven, so we help use feedback from students, from parents, to make sure the needs of our students are being met with all the programs and things we offer on campus, whether it's a support during the day or a workshop like this. We have 4 counselors currently. So we have Ms. Nguyen at Elisa Niguel full-time. We have Ms. Erica Espejo, who's on the webinar with me as well tonight. She is split between San Clemente and Capo Valley High School. We have Ms. Jessica Yazdani. She is at San Juan full-time. And then you have myself, Ms. Nicole Rangifo. I am located at Dana Hills and Tesoro, as well as our lovely program supervisor, Ms. Erica Gardner, who helps coordinate all the awesome college and career programming for our students within the district. Some of the things that we help students with are we schedule one-on-one appointments with students and families throughout the day or in the evenings. We host webinars such as this one for students and families to gain access to great information. We host workshops on campus. We have school-wide initiatives such as financial aid or college searching. So we have tons of ways that we can help you and your student through the process over their 4 years while they are in high school. All right, so tonight we're going to talk about a few things. One, we're going to go over the admissions overview briefly, just so you understand what colleges expect when students are applying and what goes on their application. And then we're going to look at a university profile. This is what universities provide students to kind of gauge what the student body at their university looks like, what they offer students, and things like that. We are also going to give you 3 sample student applications and their information, so that way you as the audience can help understand what admissions counselors look for when they're reviewing the application. So you'll be able to see the students' resume, their grades, and things like that to help decide whether you would admit them, put them on the wait list, or deny them. So ultimately, at the end of this presentation, you all are going to help participate and decide who you would want to accept or deny. So their fate lies within your hands. And then at the very end, we have some additional resources and ways to help support in other college and career related activities. All right, so the admissions review process. So before we dive in, I want to see what you all think. So what do you think college admissions are most concerned with? So on the screen, you can see a variety of items. So essays, grades, interviews, activities. So what do you all think is the most important in terms of admissions? And I'm going to put a little poll on the screen and see what you all think before we continue. So go ahead and see what you think. What is the most important part of the application according to universities? So is it grades? Is it class selection, essays, etc.? So go ahead and take a few more seconds, pick what you think is the most important, and then we'll see what the universities actually tell us. All right, how about 5 more seconds? See what you think. We have grades so far, number 1 with about 50%. The next biggest chunk, let's see, essays with about 22%. All right, so let's end that poll. So currently everyone is mostly in agreement that grades would be the most important. So let's see, is that really the case? All right, so let's see. So this is provided by universities across the country. So number 1 really is your classes or your class selection, whether you have taken college prep or honors or AP classes. So your class selection is very crucial. Number 2 would be then your grades, because if you take challenging courses, you might not always get straight A's, but you did take a challenging course. So grades are important as well. Then we have test scores, if applicable. Not every college has test scores required, but if they do, and then rank. We don't rank necessarily like other schools, but some universities use rank as a way to determine your admission status, not as common. And then the rest are kind of up to the university. They're all kind of on equal playing field. So your essays, your recommendations, if you had to do an interview, your activities, or your demonstrated interest. So maybe this was surprising to you, or maybe you were, on par with what the admissions officers tell us, but this is a great way to kind of gauge how they look at your application as a whole, because there's so many pieces to your puzzle that they are going to view. All right, so I'm going to pass it on over to my colleague, Mrs. Fejo, to talk about application review process.
Hello, now we're going to talk about the application review process. In this presentation, we're going to go over 2 different application review processes. Okay, the first one is holistic. Holistic review process, they look at the application of a student as a whole. They look at a student's personal demographic information, where they're from. They also look at their GPA, both weighted and unweighted, course selection and course rigor. What kind of courses are you taking? And how challenging are those courses? Are you taking AP? If your school offers it, are you taking IB? Test scores, if applicable. A lot of schools are still going the way, as of now, of test optional. So if test scores, if applicable, if it's a school like MIT, the public Florida colleges, or Purdue that are accepting test scores for admissions and are requiring it, they'll also be looking at the test scores. Letters of recommendation. Letters of recommendation are typically from your counselor or your teachers or coaches, mentors, and so forth. Letters of recommendation give another perspective of who you are to an admissions reader. These letters of recommendation tell about who you are in the classroom, what kind of student you are, and also mentioning your achievements and mentioning about your character. Essays. So with essays also paint us another picture of yourself. So with essays, you get to talk about your personal story. It's your personal narrative. And also with essays, you can also show demonstrated interest. Demonstrated interest shows interest in the university. So those are things like, I am interested in your university because I agree with your mission statement, or I'm interested in your university because you have a very well-known insert program here. Also, connection to major, and you'll also have an opportunity to mention this in an essay or demonstrated interest, or even being seen in the courses you're taking. Are you taking career technical education classes that are related to your major? Are you volunteering in something that is related to your major? Extracurricular activities. So this includes sports, volunteering, clubs, hobbies, and so forth. So what you do on your spare time when you're not in the classroom will also count towards your holistic review. And also, if you have a personal story, personal situation, or circumstance, that is also fair game for holistic review. So, for example, let's say you didn't do so well in your classes one semester because they were all online, or you ended up getting sick for a semester and you had to do a lot of catch up to do. That is also part of holistic review because that also gives us more context to your situation. So, the type of universities that employ holistic review are the UCs, University of California, private schools, and some out-of-state schools will employ holistic review in their admissions process. And the second type of review process is academic. So academic is very straightforward. Academic looks at GPA, test scores if applicable, course selection, and course rigor. So what kind of courses are you taking? If you're applying to a CSU, are you on track for A through G? Again, with those AP, honors, and IB courses, are you challenging yourself? And are you taking courses that are in relation to what you perhaps want to major in? Also, courses taken outside of high school. So if you're taking community college classes to also supplement for dual enrollment, or if you're also just showing interest in something, a subject or a particular major, they'll also take into consideration community college courses that you might be taking. So this also includes dual enrollment, and if you're also taking an art class or so. Okay. And CSUs and some out-of-state schools will also take a look at your application on an academic basis. All right, so there's about 80 of you in our presentation tonight. All 80 of you are going to be invited to be a part of our admissions committee. So let's take a look at a fictitious university profile, and we'll be admissions readers for this university. Are you ready to join us on this challenge of selecting students for admission? Let's take a look at our university profile. So all 80 of us in the chat, all 8 of us in this presentation will be admissions readers for Lake Washington University. But first, we need to know what kind of university are we? So let's take a look at our university profile. So our basic university information, we're a 4-year liberal arts research institution. Liberal arts means that we're very interdisciplinary. We have a very rigorous set of courses. Research means we also like to, much like the UCs, we're also very research driven. We're approximately about 4,000 undergraduate students. So that's about 4,000. So that's about approximately 1,000 per class for first-year students, second-year students, third-year students, fourth-year students. So we're a very small university. We have students from all 50 states and 65 countries internationally. We're also have about 89% of our students live on campus for all 4 years. We're also a very small school too, in the sense that we have about 11 students to 1 faculty member. So we have an 11 to 1 student to professor ratio. As far as sports, we're NCAA Division I, others, and we for men's and women's lacrosse, and all other sports is NCAA Division III. Okay, let's take a look at our next piece of our puzzle. Our academic profile. We're a very selective college. So we have a 28% acceptance rate. If you recall any of our previous presentations, if you've seen some of our other presentations in the past, you would notice that 28% is a REACH kind of percentage number. REACH schools are around about under 40% of an acceptance rate. So we're gonna be a very competitive, reachy kind of school. We have both early action and regular decision. About our average GPA is around a 3.65 to 3.98, and that's an unweighted GPA. We're test free, so no test scores required for admission. We also require an essay, writing supplements, school report, transcript, resume activities, and awards. Those are very much looked upon. And our last piece is the cost of our university is close to $60,000 per year for tuition and fees, and an additional about $17,000 for room and board. We do accept the FAFSA and CSS profile. And Lake Washington University, LW, will meet full need if a student has an EFC of 0, we will meet full need. And we also have 89% of our undergraduates receive merit and need-based aid. So we're a very generous university to those students who really need it. Okay. All right, so let's just take a look at our applicants for our applicant review. All right, so how are admission decisions made? So let's just keep these few things in mind. We have the student profile, and we have academics, and we have activities. So let's go through like what each of these components mean. So with student profile, let's look at their background. They'll have counselor recommendations, teacher recommendations, mentioning any obstacles or any adversity. They'll have their essay, family, and legacy. So family and legacy essentially means do they have they had parents or relatives that have previously attended a university or have graduated from the university. So let's look at our academics. So definitely keep in mind GPA. Since we're test free, we're not really looking at test scores, AP, IB, honors, course rigor, school profile, grade trends, and a demonstrated love of learning. And for activities, if a student has an applicable resume that they've included, opportunities to be a leader in clubs, sports, and other activities. If they have a connection to their desired major or career, clubs, if they held any jobs, sports, or volunteering. Okay. And just a few questions to consider as we're going to be reviewing our candidates. And we'll be reviewing our candidates in the next few slides, but these are a few questions to keep in mind. How did this student compare to the profile of an admitted student? Does a student have an interest in this university? Are they showing demonstrated interest in this university? What are the student's strengths? And with those strengths, do you see this student as someone who can contribute back and be an active member of our community? What has a student done in connection to their intended major? So go back again to thinking about classes, clubs, activities. What have they done in connection to what they wish to major in? Has a student taken advantage of educational opportunities within their high school? Do they have strong letters of recommendation? We won't have letters of recommendation present here, but we'll give a brief descriptor of what teachers and counselors have said about our students that we'll be taking a look at. And is the student taking challenging courses? Are they continuing to challenge themselves even during senior year? Okay. And then we will take a look at our candidates. And with that, we will be looking at 3 different candidates: Maya, JT, and Zach. These are fictitious candidates that are from the RACC website. And I will hand the microphone to my colleague, Ms. Rengifo, so we can take a look at whom we need to have decisions for.
All right, thank you. So now that you have all seen what a sample university profile looks like, what they are using to kind of base their admissions on, now we're going to look at 3 candidates, and you'll see kind of a summary of their application. Their application in general would be like 10 pages, so it's kind of hard to put it all exactly on the slide, but we wanted to give you a snapshot of all the things that the admissions departments generally look for, especially having experience reading applications. Like I mentioned before, both Ms. Espejo and myself have worked with UCI for many years as an admissions reader. So we have been able to use that knowledge of what those applications look for and what we look for, or the universities look for in their candidates when they're selecting them. So let's get started. So again, remember, we're going to ask you all to vote at the end who you would admit, deny, or waitlist. So let's get started. All right, so this is applicant number 1. This is Maya. This is just a snapshot of their senior year courses. You can see pretty challenging, a couple, some APs, 4 AP classes, calculus, and a world religion history class. Now we're going to look at each of the categories we mentioned: student profile, academics, and activities. So for her student profile, these are some basics about this student. She's from La Jolla, California. So that way it gives you perspective of kind of their surrounding area. Both of her parents graduated from college. She does have pretty high recommendations from both counselor and teachers. So she included a letter of rec from a teacher and her counselor, and they spoke pretty highly of her. They both did mention that she experienced some bullying within her 10th grade year and how she had to overcome that in the following subsequent years, and how that kind of made her a little bit of a stronger person. She expressed interest in the university by visiting at a college fair. So one of the big college fairs, and they have all the tables. So she made the effort to go talk to the representative from LWU and get to know the school a little bit more. Her background: she is Native Hawaiian and African American. She's bilingual. She speaks Native Hawaiian as well as English. And then her major choice is business. So keep in mind business, because you will see in her academics and activities anything that potentially relates to her selected major. All right. So now for her academics, this is more of your transcript material type stuff. So overall, her GPA is a 3.52 weighted. Over her 4 years of high school, she took a total of 8 honors/AP courses. So pretty rigorous course schedule over the 4 years, especially for her senior year, as you can see currently with all those different AP classes she's taking this year. Her counselor, on her recommendation, rated her in the top 10% of her class academically. So in comparison to her peers, she's in the top 10% or so. They can be rated top 5 or top 1%, but she was rated top 10. And then after her fall of 10th grade, which is when she experienced that bullying with her classmates, her grades have continuously improved per semester, according to her counselor. So the trend has continued to move up. And then she participated in a couple programs that relate to her major. So she had a summer law program at Stanford, as well as a summer program called Girls Who Code, which is a coding program for students that are interested in computer science. And then some of the activities that she listed on her resume. So community service, she has been involved with Girl Scouts for many years, as well as the Susan G. Komen Foundation. It mentioned that she raised about $5,000 through her efforts, which is really awesome. She was a president and vice president of multiple clubs on campus, so those leadership skills. She did participate in a summer program. So I mentioned Stanford Law and the Girls Who Code. Those are both extra summer programs that students have to apply for and be selected. So they are pretty rigorous to be selected. They are real programs, by the way. And then she mentioned in her resume that once she completed the Girls Who Coded program, she used those skills to help her mom create a website and run a website for her mom's business. So taking something she learned and then implementing it in her real life, which is pretty cool. And then a couple other things. She's part of the Hawaiian Cultural Club and the Black Student Union on campus. And then she also is a host at a local restaurant. So these are just some of the things that stand out for Maya. And when the admissions advisors are reading through their application, they're going to categorize it in these 3 general categories. So activities, academics, and student profile, to help kind of decide if they are going to select this candidate. So I'll give you a little bit of time to look over this one more time. So in her profile, you want to think back to the university. So how does she fit with the Lake Washington University profile? Okay, so now is when all of you can be involved. So we have Maya, candidate number 1. So when you heard or read some of the things I mentioned, what are some things that stand out to you that you think would make her a good candidate? So if you are able, it would be awesome if you could put in the chat box. You should be able to chat with everyone. What are some things that stand out to you personally? What are some things that maybe you wish she had in on her resume or on her schedule? What are some things that you really think make her stand out? So I'll give you all like 30 seconds or a minute to think about what are some qualities that you think Maya really makes her stand out. So we'll give you all a little bit of time to chat. Just listen in the chat as you feel. All right, I'm just reading through. So some summer programs, definitely. Course rigor, she took a handful of APs alone in senior year. Maybe her GPA is not as high as somebody else. Some summer programs after school. Definitely some demonstrated interest in the university by visiting a college fair. So using her skills that she learned at the coding camp, talking about her website with her mom. Lots of awesome feedback. Some diversity background. She chose business, but did things with law and coding. So maybe not as many business related items, but definitely some strong areas. So strong rating from counselor. You all are great. You have some great feedback. I would have said all of these things too. I'll give you guys like 10 more seconds. What do you all think? Most of you are positive, which is great. There was a couple things that maybe area of concern, but overall, I think very great candidate. Area of concern might be her GPA, so maybe on the lower end. Because again, let's see, the average GPA of a student that's admitted to this university is between a 3.6 and a 3.9. She had a 3.5, so she's just under the GPA, which maybe that is a concern for the university, or maybe the other areas of her application will stand out more. Awesome. Thanks for participating. You all are great. All the things you mentioned are awesome. I definitely would have said a lot of those things. Standing out with leadership skills and definitely a lot of APs. So awesome. All right. So now we're going to see candidate number 2. All right. So this is the second candidate. So this is JT. So here's a snapshot of their senior year courses. So you can see their English class, a stats class, AP Spanish 4, AP Gov, and AP Psych, and then Model United Nations. So some strong courses. Definitely keep those in mind when you see their major. All right, so we're going to look at the student profile first. So JT's from San Francisco. This student, their dad graduated from Lake Washington University, so they have that legacy connection. And they mentioned in their essays and application that since their dad had such a great experience, that's why they potentially wanted to consider it as well. They had high recommendations, from their teacher. So talking about their personal character as well as their academics. This student visited Lake Washington University during a college fair. They also took a campus tour and they did an alumni interview. So they interviewed and had a conversation with somebody who graduated in the past and connected via email with the admissions counselor. So a lot of demonstrated interest on this student in particular. And then their major choice was public policy / Latin American studies. All right, so now for their academics. This student had a 3.75 weighted GPA. Overall, they took 7 honors or AP classes over their 4 years of high school. Their counselor rated them in the top 10% academically as well. And again, you could be rated 10, 5, or 1%. Their teacher recommendation was pretty strong, and their teacher also noted that they had a pretty consistent trend of improvement. So they started pretty strong, but then they continued to improve each year. And then this student was a member of the Model United Nations for all 4 years of high school. So that connects back to their major, public policy. And then currently they're taking AP Gov and politics. That's noted because if they are a public policy major, that class might be a great way to connect with their potential major. And let's see what activities this student is involved in. So this student was involved in an internship with a senator. So being exposed to the government, particularly with solar energy research. They also have been part of the community service with the Bay Area Service League Club, so local community service organization in their city. They are either the president or founder of multiple clubs, such as the Spanish Club, Jewish Awareness Club, Heartland Club, and Anti-Bullying Club on campus. And since they are founder and president of multiple clubs, that adds to their leadership. And then some awards that the student received was the National Spanish Exam. They received an award for completing their highest level of Spanish, as well as the National Model United Nations. They were awarded the Outstanding Delegate for the 2022 program. So some awesome awards for this candidate. So I'll give you a little bit more time just to peruse through his application and think about it in comparison to the university profile and maybe what you've seen on the other applicant. All right, so same as the next slide. So this is JT again. So what are some things that stand out? So again, go ahead and put that in the chat and let me know what are areas of concern or things that stand out. Connection to major, did they have legacy? Does their GPA match with the profile of the school? Did he take any courses that align with their major? So let's see what you all put. So a legacy, definitely. Some strong connection between major, leadership, being involved, in a few clubs, being a leader or the founder, pretty rigorous courses that connect with major for sure. Their course selection was pretty strong with a pretty strong GPA. Connection between major, some courses and activities that align with their major. Are there anything of concern? Does anyone have any areas that they thought maybe the student was missing? Or let's see, got lots of positives. Having too much on your plate be a concern. Potentially, if a student is doing a little bit of everything and you can't identify what their interest is, maybe. They showed interest in school. So far, somebody says this candidate might be better matched than Maya. So we'll see what you all think at the end. Any other concerns? You guys had lots of positives, so let's see. And myself and Mr. Spejo will give our feedback at the end, but we don't want to fill you in yet. We want to see what you all think. I don't see a downside to this applicant yet. That's good. I'll give you all like 10 more seconds, get your last thoughts. Any other great things that stand out or something that maybe they were missing? All right. All right, we'll move on to the next candidate. There's only 3. So this last one is Zach. So there are their senior courses. You can see a snapshot right there. A couple honors and a couple college prep and a couple APs. And then again, we'll look at their student profile first. So the student is from Orange County, Newport Beach. Their parents are divorced. The mom graduated with their bachelor's and master's. The dad did not. That's why I mentioned mom only on this. Their their teacher recommendations were very strong. So their letters of rec, the teachers highly recommended this candidate based on their academics and their personal qualities. They were ranked in the top 1% for personal character by their counselor. So again, you can be ranked top 10, 5, or 1% for character or academics. This student participated in a virtual interview with the campus, as well as a college fair visit at their local college fair. They are interested in biomedical engineering. And then they had a specific family situation they mentioned within their essays that affected their study habits. During post-COVID, they mentioned that their family had to take on some of their elderly relatives, so they didn't have as much space at their house necessarily to study and participate in online classes, and that affected his overall studies. So just a personal circumstance that might have affected their academics throughout their high school career. All right, so their academics. So this student, they have a 3.78 weighted GPA. They took 8 honors or AP courses over their 4 years of high school. Their counselor rated them the top 5% of academics compared to 10 or 1%. Their teacher recommendation also highlighted a continuous trend of improvement. So all 4 years, grades improving, as well as taking college prep, then honors and AP courses. Their counselor noted that they took and was successful in the highest level of math and science classes that was available on campus. And then currently AP Bio, that class might relate to their major. And then they received an honorable mention for a BioGenius challenge that they participated in and for their research. So participating in something related to science as well as potentially their major. And then some of their activities. So this student listed that they participated in an internship for 2 summers at a bio research lab. They also were a varsity lacrosse member for 4 years, and they received the MVP in 11th grade. And then they did talk about their twin sister who has a medical disability that they had to help care for over their high school career since their parents were busy and working and things like that. So they were basically a primary caretaker for their sister a lot of the time. So helping with general homework and cooking and things like that. So overall, you can see the things that Zach had on his profile. So take a second to kind of look through and see, what do you think? What are some strong things? What are some areas maybe they were lacking? And if they are lacking in anything. And then go to the next slide in a second. All right. So same thing. What do you think stand out for Zach? What are some areas of concern? What are some things that stand out? Think about their courses, their major, the GPA. Does it fall within the profile? Personal situations, family, athletics, things like that. So what do y'all think? Seems like it's a good fit based on what the school, the varsity athlete. You guys are typing so many things. It's moving so fast. I like it. Taking some very strong math and science classes. Some downside, maybe his academics not as strong, but his perseverance and personal qualities and some of the awards help stand out. Awesome. Lacrosse, because this university is D1 for lacrosse. Less activities in comparison to the other candidates, but they did have an internship. Top 1% of their rated for character. Nice. Their activities and classes reflect the major he wants to pursue. Okay. Not as many activities, so no clubs, less leadership. Is this school a good fit for biochemical engineering? So it's something to consider. Maybe it's a good school, but is it great for your particular major? Overcoming family situations. Yeah, lots of good things. So lots of things that stand out and some things that maybe areas of concern or things that maybe to improve on, but give you all a couple more seconds. Last little tidbits of information. What do y'all think? All right. So hopefully you feel like experts reading through applications. Alrighty, so now that you all had a chance to kind of preview these 3 applicants at a whole, I put a chart comparison. Oh my gosh, I put a chart comparing all 3 candidates on the slide. So that way you can double check and review one more time, as well as myself and Mrs. Spejo kind of give you our feedback of some positive or areas of concern. We're not going to give you our complete answer of who we would accept yet, because we want to see what you all think. But in general, a lot of the feedback that you all provided, I think, was spot on. Also with Maya, for example, I liked that she was involved in some summer programs. Maybe they weren't related to her major specifically, but using those skills and helping her mom's business, that was a really cool thing she mentioned. Visited the university at 2 college fairs, so that was cool. Let's see. She did take a lot of honors and AP classes, but her GPA maybe is not in the normal middle range of the admissions profile, but is a lower GPA. Can that be made up with the other activities that she participated in? How about Mrs. Spejo? What do you think about Maya?
With Maya, I actually did read the full application version online. So if we're just looking at the at the statistics here.
Her GPA is on the lower end. I'm also questioning if a business major, if her end goal is to go into business and then later go into law, would a liberal arts college be a good fit for her? I do like that she's ranked in the top 10% by her counselor. She has had some strong summer program experience, and she's also looks like she's also been engaged with LWU at 2 college fairs, because engagement and having touch points with especially a small university, being in contact with us, shows engagement with our university.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's see. The next candidate, JT. Some of the things that I thought stood out as like an admissions lens, their demonstrated interest definitely was very high. So visiting with the campus, college fairs, they do have a legacy. So their GPA did fall within the range of the students that are accepted in the past, which is nice. And their Model United Nations experience, because that directly relates to their potential major. So committing to something for multiple years that aligns with their major/career is always a benefit. What do you think, Mrs. Bejo? What do you think about JT?
With JT, I really like his GPA. I really do like the fact he is taking courses that fall in line with his intended major of public policy. Public policy is also a very liberal artsy kind of major, so I can definitely see fit within the campus academically. He's also had major touch points with LW, with a campus visit, meeting with an alumni, and attending a college fair. So he's also been in communication with LW a few times. Consistent interest with Model United Nations. Looks like he's doing well academically, and has also shown various points of leadership throughout high school.
Yeah. And let's see, last one, Zach. So some of the things that stood out for me personally when I was reading through compared to the profile of Lake Washington University, lacrosse, they are D1 school. So if this student is interested in pursuing lacrosse, this would be potentially a good fit. Their activities maybe aren't as on the high side as somebody else, but with their experience in lacrosse as a varsity member for 4 years, as well as caring for their twin sister, I think that can add value as well. And they were ranked in the top 5% academically of their school. So they're a pretty strong candidate academically. But the one area that I thought maybe was lacking was the amount of activities or things on the resume, but overall still a pretty strong candidate. What do you think, Mrs. Bejo?
I think Zach is a very strong candidate. I like his GPA. In terms of activities, because of his family situation, since he's being raised, it seems like, by a single father, caring for his twin sister might also take up more time than he would if he were to do any after school activities. So I'm also keeping that in mind, that he's probably spending more time caring for his family than also having time for other after school activities. But he's also has done a bio research summer program that also falls into what he wants to study. Also, he has some strong letters of recommendation. He's also a lacrosse player, so if he wants to play sports with us, that's also would be a very good fit. However, even though we are a liberal arts research institution, I'm also wondering if his desired major of biomedical engineering, what he wants to do with that major would be a good fit for LW's culture of liberal arts research. And yes, Barack, there are a full link to the application. So if you're curious to just read more, a little bit more in depth, obviously we couldn't really go through all the applications, the full applications in our presentation, because we only have about 90 minutes to present. I'll go ahead and drop the links in the chat if you wanted to just peruse through the full application.
Awesome. And again, we'll send all this information to you with some resources in the next day or so that way you can have access to it in the future.
Okay, all 3 links for Maya, JT, and Zach are in the chat if you're curious to read their full applications. So as you're thinking about what you would like to decide for these candidates, more questions to consider. Are activities more important than grades? Can activities make up for grades? Can a strong essay make up for weaker grades? Do letters of recommendation really matter? How does course selection affect decision? So just going back to, do the courses align with what the student perhaps wants to major in and to study? And does the student express interest in LWU? So if you go through the full applications, towards the last page of those applications, we'll have a why LWU type of answer, type of essay question, and the students will have about a paragraph long answer to did the student express interest in LWU. It's very common for private universities to have a question along the lines of, why are you interested in our university? And they will allude to, this is why I am interested in this university. And how does their academics activities relate to their major? So these are just kind of a few things to consider as you're thinking about what decisions you want to make for our 3 candidates. All right, so it's time to vote. And I'm going to task all 80 of you in the chat of giving us a decision for our 3 candidates. And Ms. Rengifo, are we still using one decision? They can only use one decision per candidate? Your microphone is, you're still muted.
Yes, so you all can only accept one student and then deny and waitlist one student. So whoever you decide, so go ahead and vote now, either QR code or
drop the link in the chat if you need to access a direct link.
And then we'll show you the results in a few. And then me and Mrs. Bejo will give you our feedback and see if we all agree or what you guys thought. And then we'll show you the live results. Scan that, vote, and then in like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, I will start showing the results. Oops.
We do have a few questions in the chat. Let's see. We have, can colleges still see grades after senior year? Some colleges might ask for a mid-year report to show fall grades, but usually when you're applying to colleges, they will see the final junior year grades. And is senior year the year they really look at? Again, just to get back to my previous answer, they will mainly be looking at your final grades towards the end, at the end of junior year. Okay, Renee, I got you. I will go ahead and drop the bit.ly link in the chat. So if you don't have a phone, if you're on a browser, you can use the bit.ly or you can use the direct Google Docs link here. Do my AP scores for senior year count? Because you're getting your AP exam scores, excuse me, in July of going into university, they won't be able to see your AP scores since those won't be ready until July. But showing that you've attempted to take the test, and you were planning to take the test, looks good.
All right, let's look at the results and then we will continue to answer all of your Q&A. From now on, if you do have any questions, if you want to put them in the actual Q&A box, because then everyone can see it. If you put it in the chat, that's fine too, but let's show you the results. So get your last votes in. So woohoo, we got 54 votes. All right, drum roll, please. All right, so what was your admissions decision for Maya? Ooh, Miss Maya. So most of you, 61% said deny. Okay. 25% said waitlist, and then the other 13 said accept. All right, so let's see. JT. So 57% said accept. All right. And then let's see for Zach. Only about 40% said accept. And then the rest, 46% said waitlist. So looks like our winner is JT. Majority of you voted to accept JT. So then that leaves us with Zach for the wait list and then Maya for the deny. All right, I like it.
Yeah, thank you so much for providing your insight.
So we got JT is the winner according to you all. Awesome. So, Mrs. Bejo, what did you think? Who, based on your experience as an admissions advisor for university, what do you think? Are you in agreement with what the team did, or?
I would say yes, I am in agree. I do agree. Those are also my picks too, even after reading the full applications, looking at the full applications. So if you go to the links that were dropped into the chat, when I saw, I had Maya on a maybe, but when I was reading her essay for why LWU, it just didn't really provide me specific examples of why she was applying to LWU. I wanted to see more like, tell us about why you're interested in our programs. It didn't really have like a lot of content on there. It felt very shallow. What I liked about JT is I like his I really liked his consistency with being involved with clubs that relate to his major, public policy. Public policy is a very liberal artsy kind of kind of major, and also considering that LWU is a very rigorous. They only accept. We have about a 28% acceptance rate. I'm also looking for strong leadership, students who can contribute back onto campus, since we are all also very small campus too. And I would have waitlisted Zach here, because I also wanted to just see like what his connection is with the university, and I wanted to just get to know that side of him a little bit more. I do think all three candidates have amazing qualities, and I think and thank you again for everyone for sharing your insight. Ms. Rengifo, what's your insight?
Yeah, I would have definitely voted the same way with all of you. They are similar. A lot of them had similar qualities, but when you start to look at who had more leadership or who had more demonstrated interest in the university or the major, those are where you can kind of decide the little differences. So I definitely agreed with the group. Maya would have been the one that I denied, even though she was had a lot of great things. But I thought that between Zach and JT, just the things with the connection to their major, and the demonstrated interest in the university, those are things that really stood out, and I thought would make them really great candidates.
Okay, I dropped the links again to their full applications in the chat. If you're curious about reading their full applications, feel free to download those as well. All right, so I just wanted to just give a couple of just main takeaways before we wrap up our presentation for the evening. So as you're going through high school, it's also important to show a love of learning in school. So think about what you're interested in, what sparks joy. You can take electives that are available at your school, and a lot of these electives can be relating to things you're interested in, such as acting, robotics, engineering, and so forth. And this can also earn you credit towards graduation. And it's a convenient way to explore different interests to see what you're interested in. Also, we have our CCA courses. CCA is our career technical education program at the district. And when you receive a copy of these slides, you can click on this link to see a full listing of CCA courses that will be available next year. These are available at school during regular bell schedule and after school as well. You can earn high school and possibly some college credits. And these are also A through G approved, and some of these are also weighted, such as honors classes, so you get an extra weighted point. The nice thing about taking a CCA course is you also get technical job training. You also can learn skills relating to these jobs, and you can also earn industry certification. So if you take the EMT course, you can have an EMT certification. If you take a dental assisting course, you can also get like a dental assisting certification, and you can actually start a job as a dental assistant afterwards as well. And another way you can explore a love of learning and to demonstrate a love of learning is taking community college classes. Community college classes are completely free for high school students.
You can take courses online, but if online courses aren't your thing, you could also take it during a free period. You can take it during the summer, and you can also earn college credit as you're taking some community college courses. This will gain you early exposure to college level work. And as someone who has read for a private liberal arts university, anytime I see a student take a college course, a college level course, it shows me that you're ready for the rigor that are college level courses. And also the nice thing about community college is you can choose between a wide range of subjects and opportunities. So if we don't have it offered at CCA or offered during our normal bell schedule, there's a lot of courses that you can take out of community college to demonstrate your love of learning and to explore further of the things that you're interested in. Okay, we have some upcoming events. So some of our upcoming events are listed on here. Our next webinar is called I Got Accepted, Now What? This webinar will explore what happens after you receive your decision letters and what happens next. This is mainly geared towards 12th graders, but if you're curious about what happens after you receive your decision letters, what to do next, this is a good webinar to check out. We also have choosing a college major coming up in May. And for you juniors in the chat, we have College Essay Brainstorm Bash hosted on June 5th. From noon to 2 p.m. And I will go ahead and drop the link in the chat so you can RSVP for our upcoming webinars. Also, we have a few resources. So if you're here with us tonight, you'll get a copy of these slides. If you're curious to read more about UC freshman admit data for 2022, we'll also link you to that. CSU freshman impaction chart. The CSU freshman impaction chart shows, again, some of what the average GPAs that were associated with each of the CSUs and so forth, and shows admit data for the Cal states around California. We also have our CUSD-Futureology resource locker. We can access all of our free information on there. And I'm glad that someone in the chat asked, are what previous webinars available for replay? Yes, they are. And you can watch those on our Futureology YouTube channel. We're very close to 500 subscribers. So I encourage you to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel because that's where we post our previous videos. And you can also watch a replay of this video on our Futureology YouTube channel. We also, again, have our CCA Career Technical Education course schedule for fall 2023. So if you're thinking about perhaps taking a career technical education course, you can also browse around and then talk to your counselor or career guidance specialist to help you get signed up for a CTE course. And also, if you're thinking about taking a Saddleback course, you can go ahead and you can explore the Saddleback college class schedule. All right, so we're going to have a post survey. So if you have a smartphone, go ahead and scan the QR code. If not, we can go ahead and drop the link in the chat. Go ahead and just drop the link in the chat. And I will also drop the link to our YouTube channel in the chat as well, so you can go ahead and like and subscribe to our channel. Yeah, we have about 70 people in our that are tuning in right now. We're very close to 500 subscribers. We're about 20 away. I wonder if we can get 500 tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So give yourself time to take that post survey. Let's see what you've got out of this presentation.
If you do have any additional questions, go ahead and you can add them to the Q&A. And then in a moment, we'll start answering some of them for the next handful of minutes before you all head off to enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah, if we have not gone to your question that you may have dropped in the chat, drop them in the Q&A so we can also answer those live as well. Someone asked if there's a link to the webinars. Yes, it is. We have all the webinars on our YouTube channel, so I just went ahead and dropped the link back into the chat. So again, just drop your questions in the Q&A so we don't miss them.
All right, while you're all filling out that survey, I'm going to start answering some of the questions in the Q&A. All right. Best ways to explore majors besides webinars. So we have some resources linked on our Futureology website, as well as a new platform that we use across the high schools called California Colleges. And so this is a website that students have been signing up with during their counseling one-on-one meetings. So that way students can have access to explore colleges, explore majors, and lots of other great resources. So again, it's called californiacolleges.edu, and students have slowly been starting to create their accounts this year. All right. Do colleges differentiate between honors and AP courses? Is one seen more valuable academically than the other? So that's a good question. When you apply as a student, your counselor will submit a school profile. So whether you go to Dana or San Clemente or whatnot, they will send that school profile, which shows all the courses that we offer. So say we offer an honors and then the next level is AP, the colleges will understand the pattern. If we only offer an honors in that subject, the colleges will know that that's the highest level. So it really depends on the specific school and the subject, if they only offer honors versus AP. So colleges, yes, know the difference, and they know what offerings we have that you can take advantage of. Let's see. So I see that UCs do not accept letters of rec, but do they still accept them? Nope, they do not. I've seen people type them into the additional comments, but they are not part of the application, so they are not accepted.
I'll answer a few of these live. Nikita asks, which demonstrates a love of learning more, a community college or a summer program? All of the above.
Mhm.
All of the above are valid ways to show a love of learning. But just keep in mind, community college courses are free and summer programs might cost a bit. So you also want to keep in mind your budget, but both are valid ways to show love of learning. All right, Deborah asks, how do colleges know of your interest if you have visited or attended a college fair? Is there space on the college application to mention a college visit? I'm glad you asked that, Deborah. I used to work in admissions, so we would always keep track on interest. So sometimes you might be filling in an interest card when you are on a college tour or on a college fair visit, or you're at a college fair. And yes, there is space on the application where you can mark off attended a college tour, attended a visit a college fair type of thing. So that also just demonstrates interest. And I always recommend students, if you're really interested in a university, make contact with their admissions office. See if you could schedule like a Zoom call or a chat with an admissions advisor to ask any questions, have a personalized conversation about the school with someone in admissions.
All right, I'll answer a couple. So let's see. So the next question, can senior year grades still help with raising your GPA? So there's a couple things. Your senior year grades will still be on your overall academic GPA, because when you graduate, all your courses will be on your GPA. In terms of college admissions, many colleges will see your senior year first semester grades and base their acceptances on that. They will see your senior year final grades to confirm your admission. So they might not be basing your actual admissions on your second semester senior year grades, but they will make sure you passed and did well. But many colleges, such as private or out of states, will look at your first semester of senior year GPA as well. UCs and Cal States, they base their admissions GPA on 10th and 11th grade, but they still see your course selection. But for terms of admissions, it really depends on where you apply, but first semester might be in their admissions. Let's see. All right, I'll answer one more. Sorry, scrolled up. So you mentioned something that is looked at potentially as rank. What is that? So high schools, depending on the district, they rank students sometimes just based on GPA, and then you have the highest GPA all the way down to the lowest. We have a rank on our transcript where students are ranked in a decile. So the top 10% would be the first decile, then the top 20% would be in the second decile, and so on. So we don't rank individually, but we rank by which 10% you might be in. So if you're a 1, you're in the top 10. If you're a 3, you're in the top 30%, and so on. That's not quite as important as the other factors, but some colleges do use that as an admissions factor.
All right, I'll answer a few of these live. Christina asks, do schools really look at state testing scores for admissions? If we're talking about the CAST, those numbers for test scores when it comes to state testing are usually associated more with the school profile, what kind of resources your school is providing. So that's more for the school profile that's submitted to the university, so they can get a better understanding of what resources are available at your high school. I know I've been getting a lot of these types of questions, especially during CAST week. Okay, Amy asks, what are your thoughts on taking only 2 years of a language if my child is looking at state schools outside of California? So taking 2 years of a foreign language for an out-of-state school. I think it's still a great idea to demonstrate having proficiency in a foreign language, taking 2 or 3 years. Even though if you're familiar with the A through G pattern, A through G, we recommend in California, we recommend 2 years minimum, 3 years recommended. A lot of schools may want to see, may recommend that the student has taken some foreign language classes, a consistent for a few years in a foreign language class. So I would definitely still recommend taking 2 years of the same foreign language, even for out-of-state schools, because it still shows course rigor and that you're also challenging yourself, and you're also well-rounded as well, learning a language other than English. And ASL can also count towards languages other than English as well. Okay, we have one from Cheryl here. Will the schools look at AP test scores? They will look at AP test scores if you submit them in junior and sophomore year, if you've taken those tests, if you've taken some tests, but they mainly look at your grades in those AP courses, and they mainly take a look to see if you've attempted to take the test. Test scores are, when we look at test scores results from the AP testing, that's usually done with matriculation. If you do get accepted to university, what would those scores translate to? Would those scores, how would you earn college credit through those scores? So when it comes to APs, we mainly look at grades and if you've attempted to challenge yourself to take that test. Okay, we have 2 more questions in the chat. Nicole, would you like to wrangle those, and we can probably wrap up for tonight?
All right, let's see. All right, so this next question says, if a student ends with a 3.9 unweighted GPA, by the time they apply for a top 10 college, would a C on their transcript affect their chance of, or be a red flag on their application? So in terms of just straight, the C compared to an A or B, that does make a difference, but the schools are going to be looking at so much more than their GPA. They are going to look at all the things related to their major. Did they do anything outside of their classes? Did they get a C in the highest level of math class? What was the C in? How did the rest of that semester look? So while it may not be the grade the student wanted, it doesn't necessarily totally negate their chances or a big red flag. They look at everything else in context. So your essays, your letters of recommendation, your volunteering. So there's so much more to the puzzle that makes up the student's application. So hopefully that helps answer that. And then let's see, last question, is ranking in regards to your desired major a valid reason for your desire to attend the school? You mentioned Zach didn't talk about LWU much. Would it have helped if he had said that they were a D1 lacrosse school and wanted to play. So if that was one of the reasons he was interested in the school, that would definitely help give a little bit of a better reason why he wanted to attend the university, see if it was a good fit. But in ranking in regards to your desire, balance.
I can also provide insight to this as well. When it comes to also like looking at sports, we also look at the coaches piece too. The example didn't have a coaches piece, but like if we were like looking at if it did have a coaches piece, I would also review the coaches notes for their desire to play Division I lacrosse. If this is someone that are potentially recruiting, and also just the coach's experience with a student. All right, I think we have time for one more, and then we'll wrap it up. And thank you so much for all of your questions. All right, Natalia asks, how does being an undeclared major affect the admissions process? So there's no harm in being undeclared if you're not sure what you want to do. In fact, a majority of students actually put undeclared as their major. So it's actually more common than you think. So with being undeclared, just from personal experience, just being working both on the public side of admissions and private side of the admissions spectrum, basically when I see someone is undeclared, I want to see that they've demonstrated interest in a variety of things, like they're very well-rounded. Are they taking rigorous courses? What kind of courses are they taking? And that they've demonstrated participation in activities. They're getting good grades. So I just want to see that that student is very well-rounded and what courses they're taking, and maybe some consistency with clubs or sports that they're interested in. Nicole, Mr. Rengifo, do you have any insight? Any additional insight?
Yeah, I think in general, if a student applies as undeclared or undecided, it's not going to be a huge deal. The student is going to speak for themselves in their essays and other things, and you can kind of see a trend of things they're interested in anyways. So it's really just to see a picture of the person and what they're interested in or how they do well in academic subjects. So I know many colleges don't admit by major. So even if you select a major or not, you could still be admitted equally versus undecided. So if you're not sure, don't pick a major that you're not sure about. So that's totally okay.
All right. With that said, that wraps it up for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us for our mock admissions presentation. Again, this webinar will be archived on our YouTube channel, CUSD-Futureology. And thank you so much, Ms. Rengifo, for also being a part of our webinar too. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Have a good evening, and we hope to see you. We hope to see you all soon again.
Thanks for joining. Have a good night.
All right. Have a good one, everyone.